Central Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Jacob Dickey. You're watching The Morning Show at 9 on WCIA 3.
Welcome back to The Morning Show. It is Monday, so we have another Wise Guys segment. Joining us now is Paul. We're so excited. We're talking all about magnets.
All kind of cool stuff, yeah. So I was sent a toy a while ago. I'm just going to show you the toy, and we're not going to explain it today. We're going to explain it next time.
Okay.
We're going to build up to it. So this is just a kind of a weird thing. It's a battery with some magnets on it, and I just have a little copper tube here, and I'm just going to put that in, and whoop, it shoots all the way out the other end. So that's like super amazing, right? It's like a little magnetic train. Okay, so we want to understand what is that all about. So we're of course familiar with magnets because we grew up at some point, and we have magnets, and they have like a North Pole and a South Pole, and we know that the North Pole attracts the South Pole, and the North Pole will repel the North Pole. Right, and we can understand that. We'd like to picture this as shown in the first slide, that the magnets have these magnetic fields coming out of them, magnetic field lines coming out of them. And the more closely spaced those lines are, then the stronger the magnetic field. And we can see on the bottom left, if I've got two of the North Poles facing each other, the field is sort of pushing against each other, so that's why you can't get them together. And on the picture on the right, then North and South are close to each other, and the field lines from the North Pole can feed into the South Pole and can build up there. If we go to the next slide, so if we want to think about forces, a lot of times physicists think about that, scientists think about that in terms of energy. And so if I have a magnet, which we might call a magnetic moment, inside of a magnetic field, it will have an energy. And I don't normally do formulas. I'm just going to do one here for a second, which is the energy is equal to minus m dotted into b, the magnetic moment vector dotted into the magnetic field vector. Yeah. So if you know what that is already, no problem, that math. But if you don't, it's super easy. So if the needle is perpendicular to the magnetic field, there's no energy. The energy is 0. And if the needle is against the magnetic field, like it is in the right-hand picture, then it has a maximum energy of, in this case, MB. And if instead the needle is pointing along the magnetic field, like in the left-hand side, then we have minus MB. So the point is the energy is lowest when the needle is lined up with the magnetic field, and that's what things want. Things want to have their energy be lowest. They'll move to lower the energy. So if we just come back here, so I can look at this then. I just have a magnet here and a compass needle. And we can see what we already are familiar with, which is that the compass needle is going to try and line up with the magnetic field.
Huh.
Okay.
That's cool.
So if I want to talk about doing forces, because I have something moving though, well, actually one more thing we have to go back to. So the next slide, if I want to make a magnetic field, I can do that if I have a current going through a wire. So if I have some electrical current that's going through some wire, it'll make a magnetic field that loops around that wire, and you can figure out the direction by putting your thumb in the direction of the current, and your fingers will coil in the direction of the magnetic field that's going around that. So if we come back to us, that's what I have here. So I have here a piece of metal, and I'm going to run, when you hit that button, it will run a current through here. And the current's going to go that way, and so that's going to create a magnetic field that's going to loop around this way. And I have some compass needles here, and I'll put this one here too. And if you just hit the button.
Okay, I'm excited.
Hit the button, and we hit and hold it for just a second. Great. And we see that the compass needles are then lining up with the, got to get this magnet out of the way because that's going to screw things up. Okay, and we see the compass needles are lining up. The field is coming under this way and coming over the top over here. Okay, so when I run current through a wire, I can get a magnetic field. Okay, if I want to go back to the next slide, though, if I want to think about forces, actual lateral forces, things that could cause things to move. If you were to have a magnet in some uniform magnetic field, that's what the big blue arrow on that diagram is supposed to represent, well, the energy is going to be the same no matter where the magnet is, because I've said the magnetic field is uniform, which means the magnetic field is the same everywhere in space there. So there's you can't lower the energy by moving the magnet around anyway. It's always going to be the same value, and so there's not going to be any force on it. But if we go to the next slide, if I can have a non-uniform magnetic field, then I can get a force. So, for example, if we think of the magnet on the left as creating the magnetic field, and the one on the right is the magnet that's responding to that, that magnet, if it were to move on the right, if it were to move closer to the original one, it would be in a region where the field is stronger, the lines are more dense, it would lower the energy, so it's going to feel an attractive force. Okay, last slide over here. So, we talked about having a current in a straight line, and that'll give a magnet field that goes around it. If I put my current in a loop, I can also put my thumb in the direction of current, and that'll tell me where the magnetic field goes. And in particular, I get a magnetic field that comes out of that loop. And if I have several coils around, I'll get even more of that magnetic field. And in fact, it looks a lot like the magnet field that you get just from a regular magnet. Okay, so back to us and our last little demo here. So that's what I have here. I have just a coil of wire, and I have a little nail here. And at the moment, there's no magnetic field in this because I don't have any current. But if I'm just going to then touch this wire to the top of this, that will then run a current, put a magnetic field on this. It'll exert a force on the little nail. Ooh. And we fire a doorbell, and that's a very useful application
that's how it works.
Of this sort of thing.
Alrighty.
Okay, we will come back next time to explain how this cool toy works.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, so to come on the morning show, the Illini volleyball team made it to the final 16. Who the team is attributing their success to, coming up in our morning sports shorts.